What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk with you about fight IQ. I want to talk about what it means, which fighters have it, what traits they have in common, and how you can develop it. And this is not just for fighters out there, because anybody who is an active member of a gym who wants to get better at sparring in the gym, this also is a great area to develop because we want to improve. You don't need to be competing all the time to have a need for fight IQ. So stick around, because it doesn't matter if you're a competitor or somebody who does this for fun. This is a great episode for you. All right, first I want to break down what fight IQ means to me, because it's a word, especially in boxing, that gets thrown around all the time, but not everybody has sort of a definition for what that actually is. So I basically look at this as fight intelligence, not only when you're in the ring, but in your preparation to get in the ring. But very importantly, is people who can be in the ring, in the cage, and make adjustments. To me, that is one of the most paramount actions you can take to demonstrate fight IQ, because certainly before the fight, in fight camp, you can watch your opponent's footage, you can do all the research, you can prep up correctly, but all of that does not demonstrate the highest fight IQ. The highest fight IQ to me is when somebody goes in, they get hit, and they start making adjustments, and they can go from completely losing a fight to winning a fight, all with this, not with brute force, not with cardio resilience, just a really strong body. They go up here and they get the win using their brain. To me, that is what fight IQ is. Now, when we look at fighters who are fantastic at being the best in the world in their sport, to me, I start looking at guys like in MMA, Demetrius Johnson, George St. Pierre. When we move over to boxing, we have guys like Canelo Alvarez, Floyd Mayweather. In kickboxing, we have guys like Georgia Petrosian and Rico Verhoeven. All these guys have a couple things in common when I look at them. Number one, they're not KOing every opponent they fight. It's not like knockout, 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 especially early in the fight. Early in the fight, they do a feel-out process. They take their time, they gather information, and then from there, they start mounting their domination of the fight. We actually see these guys sometimes lose the early parts of the fight and then come back and flip the script. And that's what we already talked about in the definition of fight IQ, being able to lose or being in a losing situation and flip that around without just going, I hope I'm gonna land a KO shot, a lucky shot. They don't go for that. It's not about luck with these guys. It's about the skill level and the brain power. And to me, those fighters, those 6 fighters that I listed, are some of the best in the world because their fight IQ is so high. Now, one of the first ways that we can develop fight IQ is experience. Yes, some people at the beginning will be very, very intelligent fighters, but they will not be at that same level they are now without all the experience. So that is why it's very important for competitors out there. If you have 1 or 2 or 3 fights, you're not going up against somebody who has 10 fights, because there's a good chance that that guy's fight IQ is much higher than yours. And that has a big difference in a fight. That is something that allows the person with that extra experience, that extra fight IQ, to do better in the fight, be able to make adjustments. And again, something with experience that will kick in my opinion, after you've had about 10 or 15 fights. You really start to go, okay, that fight IQ is clicking in now, it's dialing. When I got into my 5th, 6th, 7th fight, a lot of times I wasn't really demonstrating that, but again, for me, 10 to 15 fights is where it sort of clicked in, and I've talked to other people and they sort of said the same thing to me. That is when it really made a difference for them. Another way that we start developing our fight IQ is developing our style. And we've talked about it many times on this channel before, but if I go into the gym every time and I just try to copy what the coach is doing or copy what my favorite fighter is doing and I just try to be them, I'm not really being my best version. I'm not figuring out what strengths and weaknesses I personally have, and then from there developing my style to be the best version of myself. People who do that, people who know their strengths, what they're best at, that's fight IQ. That's using your brain, your intelligence, to make yourself that much more dangerous to your opponents or to somebody in the gym that you're sparring with. Now, if you want to start initiating higher fight IQ and you're going, I want to get this done as fast as I can, one of the ways that I would suggest doing this is making sure that in the gym when you're sparring people, especially if you are sparring somebody who's a lower skill level than yourself, not just going in and dominating them, but going in and giving yourself restrictions or goals. So if I go in against somebody and I go, I can really clean this guy out, there's no chance he's going to even come close to being at my skill level, I'll go, I'm going to land as many left body hooks as I can. And then as soon as the guy starts cluing in on the left body hooks, I'm going to have to start throwing some fakes to open up that left body hook. And that right there is developing fight IQ. I'm not just throwing shots, I'm creating openings. Or when I'm shadow boxing, instead of just throwing punches, I'm also working on defense. I'm imagining an opponent in front of me and I'm thinking, oh, there comes the jab, I slip to the side, I throw my shots, oh, here comes a hook, I roll under, and I'm constantly engaging my brain, making myself a smarter fighter. Sometimes when I'm doing shadow boxing or bag work, I'll even imagine getting hit. I'll be like, oh, okay, I just took a shot, what do I do from here? Do I just grind in and fire back, or do I take the shot, guard up, regain composure, and then move on from there? One of those is much smarter than the other. You guys can hopefully figure out which. In the gym is one of the main ways that we're going to develop that increase in fight confidence and what to do in certain situations, what to do when certain punches come at you. But again, you can only get so good without stepping in the ring. This is why we see people who are fantastic in the gym and then they move to the ring and they don't perform close to the level that people think they're capable of. And it's because they're lacking that fight IQ in the real fight setting. The gym is a whole different experience, but you can still work constantly trying to become a smarter, more intelligent fighter so that when you do step in the ring, you're going to have more chance of getting that win. And one of the last things I want to say about fight IQ before I sign off for today is the people who usually get in the ring on their first, second, third time and they're already demonstrating the fact that they're thinking and they're composed. Those are the same guys that don't jump in and just hit the bag as hard as they can or always shadow box as hard as they can every time. They slow down sometimes. They take moments to really think about what they're doing, to really imagine somebody in front of them, not just 100%, 100%, 100%. Sometimes you dial back and you engage your brain, and that, in my experience of watching people train in the gym and then compete in actual competition, people who take their time are the ones who take their time in the fights and demonstrate the highest fight IQ early in their career. Something to keep in mind. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel and get subscribed. And as always, guys, train hard, train smart, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.